Bills fans, I'm not even going to attempt to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you a white lie. I'm not going to tell you a partial lie. The truth is, this is likely the worst season y'all will have in the last 5 years.
Shut up, the Bills! It's not a house game! It's not a house game!
Yeah, we the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo Bills. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, Bills, mafia, yeah. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Want me now, listen. Everyone play their position. Buffalo got a tradition. They say we trippin'. They better get out our way. Top of the table, we flippin'. We on a mission. Got an unstoppable team. Continue to follow your dream by any means. Buffalo, get in the Super Bowl ring. Cause we the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo Bills. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, yeah. Reppin' the mafia, Bills, mafia, yeah. You better know that. Look how we throwing and catching, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. You better know that. Look how we running and hitting, cause we are unstoppable, yeah. Mafia up in your city, time to get gritty. Screaming and yelling, we bugging. Look at the red and blue.
This is an MVP year for Josh Allen. As an MVP voter, I said this last week. Josh Allen, he looks like an MVP. When you vote for MVP, and I can speak for myself, I think I'm one of 50 voters, you look at a couple things. Who's the best team in football? Who's the best player on that team in football? What do they look like as the best player on that team in football? And how much talent is around that best player on that best team in football?
Cause we the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, we the Buffalo.
Welcome back to another oh man, starting off bad. Welcome to another episode of Coast to Coast. I'm your host with a 2K. My co-host should be joining very shortly. We are coming to you live and direct, as we always do on Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock. Like, we try to be on time, but you know how I be going sometimes, man. Life be lifing, but we here, or at least I am, and we're gonna pack a lot of. We're gonna be before you not long, but strong, and we're gonna pack a few things in that are pertinent to what's going on right now. Tomorrow is the day that the NFL schedules are officially released. Obviously, there's been some leaks, where we're concerned. Week 2 is supposed to be the season opener in a new building against the Detroit Lions. I don't know how y'all feel about it. I kind of hate that. Not that I don't, want to play the Lions or anything like that, but kind of wanted to open the stadium up against a divisional opponent or somebody that's a little bit more of a rival. Not that Detroit's a bad team. I would prefer to play Detroit a little bit later. I just feel like Detroit's one of those teams that, is on the cusp of making the playoffs. So the closer we get to the end of the season, the more important, the more electric, the more entertaining that game will be. And unfortunately, if we get Detroit week 2, I think it'll be a good game, but I think both teams are still going to be trying to figure things out. Detroit's got some offensive line movement. They've added some players on defense. I don't know what they're going to do at corner with Terrion Arnold and his situation, but we'll talk about that. We got a couple homies that are Detroit Lion fans. We've done some collaboration with them. Shout out to Ian. Shout out to our guys over there, man. We appreciate y'all pulling up on us and doing what we do. What we do together. Beyond just walked in and he probably has a very big grin on his face since the Knicks are back to the conference final, and I
can't remember the last time that's been said, Whittle, if ever. back to the conference
back-to-back
final.
years, man.
I mean, usually it's making the playoffs or trying to, worry about not winning the lottery is what we usually have on tap for the Knicks.
Right.
In the long time since I go back to Bernard King and Patrick Ewing when, the envelope that had the fixed envelope that David Stern gave the Knicks. I almost feel like that put the whammy on the Knicks, Whittle. You've heard about that lottery where the Knicks won Patrick Ewing. I feel like we've been cursed ever since.
Oh yeah, it's sort of like the Cooper Flag lottery. And,
and you know
sort
what's
of like
crazy?
the Wembanyama lottery.
Since that lottery, the Knicks have never moved up in the lottery, and they've only moved back in multiple spots. Like they've had horrendous lottery luck since the Patrick Ewing thing. So it's not like we've had it multiple times. As they should. Okay.
As they should. I don't want to talk about the Sabres because things are not looking great right now.
Well, they tied it at 2. They got it tied at 2.
They tied it at 2. Okay. All right.
They got the win. They're coming home to Buffalo tomorrow night, so we'll see what they can do.
Last time I checked, it was
it wasn't looking good.
It was like a 6-2 game. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And listen, I'm going to give a shout out to my guy Dog. Listen, don't be down about the Sixers because you sent the Boston Celtics to Cancun. Just remember.
You know who sent Boston? You know who sent? Come on, let's be honest. You know who sent the Celtics to Cancun?
Who did?
The first and second apron of luxury tax on the salary cap. That's what sent Boston home. That's what it was.
I just wanted to give Dog a little shout out for his Sixers. I know they had I'll be honest with you. I was a little surprised that the Knicks 1-4, and you know what? I think this layoff is bad for them. They've been on. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the Knicks since really Game 4 of the Atlanta series, but whatever it is, keep it going. But can't expect it, but we'll see how it goes. So, shout out to our guy Student as well. And
what's up, Student?
We'll see.
How you doing, man?
And then we'll see what the Sabres do. And we got the schedule released tomorrow. I heard you talking about that for the Bills. So, what do you think, Whittle? I guess about the schedule, considering the new defense that we had. This is something I wanted to ask you. New pieces that we're going to have, new system. Would you rather, like, what kind of, are you hoping for an easier schedule early, maybe tougher later? Does it really matter to you? Yeah, in that case?
No, it matters 100%. So what I'm hoping for is the conference games that we get early. I would like those to be against teams that we should fare pretty well against. I don't mind playing like I wouldn't mind playing like the Ravens early. I just think any game against the Ravens is going to be, is going to be must-see TV. I just think it is.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't mind playing Denver early. Like, I would like to get to Denver while we're healthy, and I don't want any injury issues, no problems. I want to go up against Denver when we are 100%, and I really want to give them, genuine, pure, top grade, USDA approved prime leather, a prime leather belt. Like, I really want to smoke the Broncos. Not because like I hate the Broncos. Like, I actually really like the Broncos roster. I think they got some really good players over there.
They do.
Bronco fans really pissed me off after the playoff game last year. Like, before the game started, like, let's be honest, Bronco fans thought they were going to get ran out of the building. And they were just hoping that, you know what, listen, let's just try to keep it close and see what happens at the end of the game. And Josh Allen just really didn't play great. And we ended up losing that game. And Bronco fans ran like they were acting like Knicks fans, basically.
I'm not gonna listen. You're not gonna get an argument from me on those cases, so I understand you. I understand. There's a faction of Nick Nation, so to speak, that gets a little wild. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think it's funny and all of that, but I'm just waiting for you guys to get eliminated. I'll be honest, my dad.
Well, you might be waiting a while. You never know.
Well, I don't know about that, but you know, my dad was a Knicks fan, and with the playoffs going on right now, I do pray that even in the afterlife, my father never witnesses a Knicks championship. I wish for the Knicks fans that are here and the ones that have gone on and weren't able to see the first championship in the 70s, I don't want you to see one now. I don't want you to see one in
Wow,
the future.
Whittle, that is some
So,
serious hate
yeah.
for the Knicks. I don't know if I've ever heard such a thing, but
No, I've
hey,
I've,
I
I've
love it.
incorporated that in my prayers. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what.
So you know.
I think you'll get your answer in the finals if the Knicks are lucky enough to make the finals. Which, you know, listen, Cleveland, Detroit will still not be easy. I just don't think they'll have enough to beat San Antonio or the OKC Floppers. But you know, I'll leave that alone. So
Wow. Okay.
you know, I mean, you know,
I don't know.
SGA will, you know, he already just flopped on his way, you know, to the parking lot. You know, I listen. OKC is a very talented team, but they got to stop that flopping. I'm sorry. And you know what? And listen, it's a pandemic. It's a pandemic in sports. It's not just OKC. I mean, I don't even like when the Knicks do it either. So I'm just gonna say that. Even when our guy Josh Allen tries to do a little flop once in a while,
Bro, I hate that.
To be honest,
I hate that so much.
Yeah. He doesn't need to do that.
It's so forced, bro. It's so forced. It's terrible.
Yeah,
It's bad for the game. I'll take the 15 yards, but geez, man.
Yeah.
Could you stop,
just,
bro, please?
Yes. Yeah. And we love Josh, but again, we, you know, on our podcast here, Whittle, you know, we call it exactly the way we see it. So, and with Josh Allen, I'd like to see how that goes.
Well, he's married now. He's married to a very famous actress, so maybe she'll help him with his acting skills. And you know, maybe he can sell that a little bit better. Yeah.
Maybe so. See if he gets girl dad power too. We'll see how that goes this season as well. So, early thoughts on the Detroit opener Thursday night to open the stadium.
Well, I just kind of went over that, but so I'll just run it back really, really quickly. I like playing against Detroit. Like, I think Detroit's one of those teams that is going to be there at the end of the year. You know, either fighting for their division or fighting for seeding in the wild card, depending on how the division goes. I think that they're going to win their division. I actually think that they'll win it comfortably by a couple of games. But I do wish that we could play them a little bit later. Like, if they would have brought in like I would have been cool with Green. With I think who do we have? Who do we have? We have Chicago in Buffalo this year, right?
We do. Yeah, I was thinking that would have been. I mean, that's prime time. I'd be very surprised if that's not a prime time game, Whittle. I mean, you got Caleb Williams.
I know they want to do like it's the whole Caleb versus Josh Allen thing. Like every quarterback that's come out after 2020, they've been trying to compare to Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. So, it's kind of difficult. For me, I would have preferred it to be a division rival we open up the stadium against, right? So we closed it with the Jets. That would have been really good, really nice. Or I don't know, but like to open it up against the Jets again, I thought that would have been cool. The Dolphins, you know, always. I think the games in Buffalo with the Dolphins, like the Bills haven't lost to the Dolphins in Buffalo since like. I don't know, like my kids were in grade school. Like it was a long, long time ago. So that could have been, you know, something they could have went after. Or, you know, Drake May and the upstart Patriots who just came from the Super Bowl, just come off of winning the AFC, have them come to Buffalo and you know, open that stadium, and you get a really, really important and you know, primetime worthy game in a brand new building with two of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, man. So that would have been really good.
That would have been good. Yeah, and an original AFL opponent too. You know, the old Jets or Patriots. I get that too. I thought that would have been probably a better call. I'm not crazy about the Thursday night. I'm not crazy about Thursday night games in general. The only thing I like about Thursday night is the coverage. I like the coverage that they have on Amazon. In general, I just don't like when the Bills are on Thursday night. I'd rather watch some other teams play on Thursday night, kind of analyze them and just kind of get a sit and take a look at and see how they're doing. So another rumored leak is Week 10 against the Jets. But again, who knows, you know, what you're going to see out there. But I'm good with waiting until tomorrow. I mean, we'll wait till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Let's see the schedule in full bloom. We do have the 9 road games this year. That is a factor. You know, they have the 8-9 split. No international games, so there's no quote neutral site game for the Bills. Although, Whittle, you could consider the Rams a neutral site game. And I've been to the game against the Rams, and when it's like 60-40 Bills fans, I could consider that almost a neutral site game in a sense. So,
But there's no way. There's no way. There's no way they were going to wait on that. Like that game. That game is meant for after week 10 when it's important to both franchises. You know, the last time we played, that was a shootout. I mean, that was elite plays on both sides of the football. That was a high-level game. We were talking about that earlier today in Spaces. And, I think, you know, that certain games that they're saving, we were spoiled week 1 last year with the Ravens and Bills. That went down to the final second, literally walk-off field goal. So we were spoiled to that. So we got the Ravens. You know, the Chiefs game is going to be at some point later on in the season, probably between week 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there. CBS standalone game. The Rams, that's another game I think is going to be big. I think they're definitely trying to save one of those Patriot games for later in the season because I'm sure it's going to be playoff implications involved. And probably the Broncos game is probably going to be later than usual because, you know, playoff seeding and all that other stuff. But, I mean, there's so much that goes into it. Whoever we play, man, just put the ball on the field, man. Let's go.
Let's go at it. Yep.
Yeah, let's go.
We have a very intriguing away. We have a very intriguing out of conference schedule this year. To me, the road games. I mean, some of the great places to see games like Green Bay, for example, Denver. They're out in Las Vegas, which I'm really eyeing up that game this year to go to. Again, they're here in Los Angeles again. So that's, you know, from my point of view, got the Bills on the West Coast twice, so I'm happy about that. But Minnesota is a very interesting place to go, Whittle. It's supposed to be a beautiful stadium as well and a great experience. But, you know, Whittle, we have over 300 people watching this show already, and let's go to war. And I want to hear what you guys got to say. What games are you looking forward to? I mean, Houston's one that I got circled on my calendar, Whittle. That is a game for me that is a true test of where this offense is. I'd like to see that maybe more middle of the season. I don't know if you feel the same way. Maybe again, wait for that. Let's not see that so early. Week 2, week 3, maybe as we develop, you know, get DJ Moore in the offense, see how we do. I'd like to see how we match up against that great Houston defense that
I know how we match up against them. We match up really well against we match up really well against Houston. I know Josh Allen's played terribly in Houston, bro. We're losing these games by 3 points. By 3 points. And in both games, Josh has turned the ball over multiple times. We've looked very disjointed. And obviously we've looked disjointed offensively. A lot of that is because of Houston's really great defense. I'm not giving them I'm not taking any credit away from Houston and their defense. However, the Bills, as Bills fans and just NFL fans, like if you watch Buffalo games against the Ravens, against the Chiefs, against, you know, the Eagles, whatever, you know that the Bills offense is better than what they show in Houston. Like, yeah, the defense is playing great, but I mean, come on, guys. Like we know the Bills are capable of much more than what they've put on display in Houston. And I expect them to show that this year. I expect to go down to Houston this year and get a win. Like can't keep losing to AFC contenders. You know what I'm saying? Like that builds up a level of confidence that you have to break. And I think that they need to go into Houston this year and they need to put up. Listen, I'm saying they need to put up more than 24. And I know that's a tall task because that defense has no holes. They have no holes in that defense. But we got Josh Allen, right? It's a top 5 offense. It's a top 10 offense with Josh Allen and, you know, the 27th, 28th ranked wide receiver room in the NFL. Now you add DJ Moore. You draft, you get a healthy Palmer back. You get a locked-in Keon that's been working with Stevie Johnson. Shakir's back. And, you know, you drafted a Skylar Bell who's an exceptional athlete with some really, really, really high expectations as far as what he can develop into. I also think that we have some potential guys that could push for a roster spot as UDFAs, and then not to mention Shavers is still working his way back. Once he's healthy, I expect to see him get back on the field for the Bills and continue to make plays. So you just got to beat these teams that we expect to see in the playoffs. You got to start beating them, and for not just because of the confidence and you want to set a precedent, you want to set a standard, but also, listen, man, seeding is important. If the Bills and the Texans are sitting there at the end of the year, both 12-5, sitting at the top of the conference, that head-to-head matchup determines who has a bye week and who's hosting a playoff game wild card weekend. That's super important. So you got to make sure you take care of business when you're playing these contenders.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, seeding is really so big. I mean, a lot of fans will say, well, sometimes you just got to get into the dance and do that. But there's a real high percentage of one seeds that really make the Super Bowl. And that's stood the test of time a lot longer than most fans want to realize. We did have a few years in there, maybe mid 2000s, late, early 2010s. You remember when the Giants got there and the Steelers got there as a 5. We had some interesting, results then, but we see what Kansas City's done with the 1 seed over the last 7 or 8 years, where we've come very, very close to getting that, and what difference I believe that would make for the Buffalo Bills. So, but I agree, Whittle. I mean, the schedule is important in terms of, again, because the fact that we have extra road games, I would not mind getting some of those out of the way early. To be honest with you, I'd rather have some home games a little bit in the pocket later in the season. Or do you feel, would you rather go that direction, Whittle? Would you rather have more home games early, even if that means we have a 4 or 5 road stretch sometime later in the year? Would you like to stack the wins early? Or are you more of, hey, let's finish strong, get some of the road games out of the way early when the weather's better? And Josh usually plays better in those conditions.
I'm not too worried about weather. Weather's not something that I look at and say, we got to – I don't care about that. We can run the football. We can put 3 tight ends on the field. We can go 13 personnel. We can go 6 offensive linemen. Like that's not something that I look at and say that's an issue. And on top of that, Josh has shown the ability to throw the football in snow. He's shown the ability to throw the ball in rain, in high winds. He's shown the ability to throw the football in those conditions. So wherever we go, wherever we play, our quarterback can do things that theirs might not necessarily be able to do, even if the weather's bad. So I don't necessarily mind that as much. What's more important to me is that we get some games in early that we can decide rather quickly and then get these young guys on the field. Like, no disrespect, I'd love to play the Cardinals early. That'd be great. Like, let's play the Cardinals early again. You know what I'm saying? Let's play the Raiders early. No disrespect. I'm just, picking teams that picked at the top of the draft this year. Let's play some of those teams, and then we can utilize those games, get out to a big lead, and utilize those as extra. I don't want to say extra preseason games, but get those guys some real reps going 100 miles an hour in real NFL games. Let them make their mistakes early against teams that we're not going to lose to, so that when we get to November, when we get to December, and we need those guys to come in because Trey White got the wind knocked out of him. He's got to sit down. I don't want Dane Jackson on the field. Give me Davison Igbinosun. Give me Toriano Pride Jr. And those guys can come in and make plays because they've already played earlier in the year. So now they know they know what they're expected to do. They know where they're supposed to be, and they're not rattled by the noise of the crowd. They're not rattled by the cadence of the quarterback. The communication is second nature to them at this point. They've already learned it. Yeah, that's what I want to see. That's what I would like to see.
No, I agree. And we have teams like the Raiders early on, maybe the Jets, or we mix in the Dolphins. And teams like the Jets and Dolphins are rebuilding, and I like some of the things they're doing, but these are teams that we should not be splitting with. I know they're division games, and our division games are always tough. It's an old cliche, but it's true. I mean, you can look in almost any team. Kansas City, even the last 7 years, they struggled with teams like Denver at home, or they're even at the Raiders once in a while. But they beat them most of the time. But they had their struggles. It doesn't mean they're always going to be blowouts, but Ahmed says he wants Green Bay early. I would like Green Bay early as well, just from the weather point of view. But I'm not too worried about the weather. But I really want to see how the Bills match up with Green Bay. I think our defense could do pretty well against a guy like Love. So I look forward to that matchup. There's, like I said, there's so many intriguing matchups. I feel like our schedule this year is a little bit tougher than usual. Just from looking at some of the teams, for example, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bears, Houston, Green Bay, Minnesota. Well, maybe Minnesota's another team I wouldn't mind getting early on that young quarterback. But the Rams are tough. We have some pretty interesting games on the schedule. So I agree with you on schedule. It's going to be, I think, a little more important than usual. Also, about the one seeds, what'll make the Super Bowl, it's about 50 to 54% since 2000, give or take, on the percentage of the one seeds that make the Super Bowl. So that's how big it really is. I mean, 50% may not seem a lot, but when you're talking 50-something scenarios, over 50-something scenarios since 2000, that's quite a big number. So just wanted to put that out there.
I'd like to see what the correlation between the teams that get to the Super Bowl and where their defense is ranked, because I feel like the better your defense is, the better chance you have of getting to the Super Bowl. But we do have a guest. We do have a return guest this week. He is very famous at this point. He is part of the Roundtable family. So we are blessed to have Kevin Messeri in our presence. Kevin, how are you doing today, sir?
You know what? Living the dream, guys. I'm glad to be here. Glad to talk schedule, whatever else is on the topic. Always love coming on the show.
And may I mention, Kevin, fellow Sabre fan, welcome back.
True story.
Anyway.
True story. Little dismay Knicks guy, but I'm a casual Knicks fan. I'm not.
There you go. See, Kevin, I knew you were smart.
Not a diehard
Knicks fan. You just leveled up for on my end. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. But no, honestly, like schedule comes out tomorrow. I'm super excited to talk about that. Super excited to break down the rankings, whatever you guys got in store. I was going to pull up some defensive Super Bowl data for you, Whittle. I was actually just pulling up my sheets now to take a look and see how that looks.
That's why I love you, brother. You're always one step ahead.
Yeah,
we'll see how that turns out. But I was just going to pull that data as you guys were talking.
Absolutely.
Okay. So while you're pulling that, Kev, we're gonna talk a little shop and discuss the Buffalo Bills made a signing this week, and they brought in two-time champion, veteran defensive lineman Mike Dana. Used to be of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now he is a Buffalo Bill on a one-year deal. They listed him as an outside linebacker. I don't believe that he's going to play there. I think he's more likely gonna kick inside and play defensive end in that in that 3-4 or that I front. So I'm imagining the interior guys. If I had to pencil in starters today, I'd say that 5-man front looks like Rousseau, Dana, Deion Walker, Ed Oliver, and Bradley Chubb. That's what I would expect that 5-man defensive line front to look like. Could TJ Sanders push for a starting spot? Sure, he could. Based on what I saw last year, do I think he will? No, I don't. Not my favorite selection, but certainly not as poor of a selection as the 3rd round pick. But we'll hold out hope that that turns around at some point. Kevin, talk to me about Mike Dana, man. Like, what do you think of him as a player?
He's it's a polarizing player of sorts. But look, the Bills aren't looking to get top starting defensive end / OLB / 4i / any of those positions from him. They're looking for a simple vet minimum experience. They're a young team. I think I talked about it on your show last week, where, I mean, this is a little different than some of the teams of before based on who makes the final roster. I got it a year and a half younger. So you need someone like Mike Dana in the locker room saying what it's like to win a Super Bowl, what it's like to be on winning teams with Mahomes. I mean, that stuff's invaluable. Yes, is he a 7-sack guy? No. But is he shown some juice to have some ability? Last year wasn't his best year, but I'll counter that most of the Chiefs, including Mahomes, did not have prior to the injury, did not have their best season. A lot of talk about their O-line over there in Kansas City and how could they ever not have a left tackle and why would we trade Dawkins? That whole scenario kind of always correlates back to the Chiefs, as always. But Mike Dana's in that bucket of like players who I thought have had pretty good seasons, did compare similarly to AJ Epinesa in certain ways, kind of a similar comp in some styles. And the Bills chose to, they chose to put their foot in the sand and say, look, these are McDermott's guys. Like Bean could go out and sign 7 McDermott players tomorrow and give them $2 million a piece. But he's determined that, like, I don't want some of those players for this scheme. We're moving away from a lot of that stuff. And Dana brings probably that positional versatility that you're looking for, that he's not just going to be a backup. And it also shows you that he can probably play 4i. He can probably be behind, depending on where, but definitely behind Greg Rousseau. So I think you're going to get a little bit of that. In pass rushing situations, you can bounce him all around. And he does have some pass rush juice and is pretty good against the run in certain situations. So from the 52nd man on your roster, probably, and that's if he makes the team, I think he will. But from the 53rd man, 52nd, 51st man, I mean, he's not a bad player. No one should be looking at this like he's a top 30 guy. He's going to get a ton of snaps, but he does add a huge presence to where you're now not relying on, you just mentioned some of the guys on top of the, Javon Solomons. You're getting a little bit more experience and probably a player at the dollar amount that he got paid. He just came off a $24 million contract. So it isn't like he was a $1 million fodder guy. This dude is a guy that's been paid. He's been successful in this league. And yes, he did not have his best year last year. No one's trying to sugarcoat that out anywhere, but he has a lot of juice. And I really think he's a talented 51st man on a roster that could come in certain 10 snaps, 15 snaps a game, sub packages, who could fool some bad offensive linemen in this league, trick some of them that he's still got some moves.
You mentioned Solomon. That's interesting because I was thinking about Solomon and maybe his space on this roster. And I'll open this up for both of you. Do you think this means no Shaq Thompson returning? I know you were talking about some, maybe some McDermott guys that may or may not be back. I was thinking about Shaq Thompson. And could this also relate to Mike DeHoit and his injury? Maybe he's going to take a little bit longer. Yeah. More DeHoit on that. I didn't know what you thought. If that means no Shaq, because I know Shaq Thompson's been kind of floating out there too. He's a player that we all like, but I don't know.
More to Hoyt and positional versatility. Like you want a guy that's getting a jersey and a helmet on game day to play multiple things. You don't want to have. So problem with Solomon is like, do we know he can do anything but third down on the outside linebacker position? I think he has the juice to do more than that, but we just haven't seen it. And maybe Leonard can unlock it. It is a guy we've talked about as being maybe getting the biggest bump from some of the reserve players. But until we see that, the Bills are hedging their bet there. They're hedging their bet on the interior if one of those guys gets cut or traded. I mean, he's a player that can play around they think can play, but luckily for Shaq Thompson, you still got just Dorian Williams, just Buffalo Joe, and obviously just Terrell Bernard kind of in that interior, and obviously Keontae Jenkins to a different level, and whoever else they're going to line up.
Jimmy Charlo.
Yeah, Jimmy Charlo. He's making this team on special teams if he makes it. But ultimately does present a little bit more versatility for a 3-4 based on he's like basically a safety. So he does probably present more for this defense in Leonard than he did for McDermott. So that's interesting that he's still around. But guys, I still think that there's a final inside linebacker position available. Yes, it would hurt some of those names I just mentioned, but ultimately would probably have it. They want a huge bat for in case Dorian Williams isn't the answer / might be able to start in front of Dorian. So I think that an inside linebacker is coming. It's just a matter of when. At training camp today, it's coming. I know the Bills have talked to pretty much the remaining gamut of inside linebackers from what I've heard. So it's possible they don't sign one. But I really think that realistically, there's a couple guys there, including Shaq, who do think he still thinks his value is more than $2 million. I just don't think it is, but I could be fooled wrong, and he'll end up playing football this year. So I think there's a possibility it's here / if not, you're talking, you have Bobby Okereke, you got a couple of Jermaine Pratt, you do have a couple of other guys who can at least give you some solid depth. And Okereke is a day one starter if that was the route they went.
Right. Yeah. Okereke gets here. I mean, any issues of any trepidation I have with this defensive starting unit are gone the moment they sign him. Like that.
And Bean knows that. He knows that there's only a few players left that can add to his defense. And he's one of them. So I don't think he's stupid to know that we could take care of a big hole in June, possibly. That's June 1st is, I think, going to have a little bit of meaning this year. Normally it doesn't. It's not really a big deal. It did in the past. And then for about 10 years, it hasn't meant anything. But now with the way people are doing their contracts, hoping to push money out with AJ Brown, like I still think June 1st is going to have a new meaning. It's not going to be crazy or anything, but I think there's going to be a few trades and a few of these final guys. I mean, Reeder got paid. He didn't just get a minimum deal. So there's still guys that are hoping they can get a DJ Reeder-like deal, at least $2 to $5 million, and not just the 1.5 that the Bills are probably, in fairness, offering at this moment.
Right.
Even a David Njoku got 1 year, $8 million from the Chargers. So
exactly.
I'm sorry,
people are hoping for that. Yeah. You got Okereke probably hoping for that deal.
Yeah, and that was a very, very good. That's a very, very underrated pickup for them.
And I know you already like the Chargers too, so that only.
We're gonna. You guys are gonna find out how much I do when I unlock my power rankings. I'm only going 1 through 10 tonight because I don't want to stay too long on here, but we're going to talk about that. But since we're talking a little bit about the roster, and I know we've at this point beaten the horse of the draft to a bloody pulp at this point, but I do want to speak a little bit about some of the grades that we got from the media standpoint. These are from like analysts and writers and things like that, and pretty much most of them are kind of where I was with the draft. Solid B, C+, whatever. I don't think that there were a ton of needle movers, but I mean, it's not like we picked up a bunch of scrubs either. Like, I think these guys that we drafted are going to make the team, and for the most of them are going to make the team, and I think some of them can push for snaps this year. But some of the stuff that I saw just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I got into it a little bit with a Kansas City writer today, a little back and forth, but let's talk about this really, really quickly. The draft grade so far, like for the Bills. So Mel Kiper gives us a B-. Sports Illustrated, D+ from Matt Verderam, the guy that I had a little back and forth with today. And then NFL.com, Chad Reuter gives us an A. I'm more along the lines of where Mel is. I'd like to ask you guys, like, where like I think we pretty much got everybody's, but what do you think of how the media is viewing the draft, and why do you guys believe that? Like, what's your belief in why the grading is like so widespread? Like, some people love it, and then there's a few people that actually hate it, but I think for the most part it's been kind of like in the middle. So why do you think that there's such a disparity in the grading from a media and analyst standpoint?
I think if you look at it, I think it's how much ball do you know, and I don't love to use that term, but I think that that's fair. We get into it all the time with Bowery. How many play, like, and I'm not Mr. O-line analyst, I'm not. But if you look at the film, if you're going to judge that pick specifically over all of them, and maybe the 7th round pick, Reed Adams too, I need to know that you've watched him play. If not, you can't really grade O-line. I'm sorry, you can't really read. based on positional strength or whatever, however you're grading that. And I'll give some of these guys credit. I'm assuming to make grades, you've watched the player, but that's an assumption at best. So I think there's a little of that. And I think that the biggest grade the Bills took on a knock, on a negative end, was people just didn't realize corner was a super high need. And OT, honestly, you took those 2 other 3 positions. Edge was in there. So people still didn't think edge was probably top 2, probably 3rd. And that's about where I had it. But if you really think of the way the Bills built their board, they built it for we need players that can play today. Am I going to get an impact player at 26? You're not going to get that anyways. Most likely, I'd say you're not. So we need guys that can have a high floor. And that's what the Bills clearly drafted for, guys that can get a jersey, that can play. They're sick of taking these risks. They're sick of maybe trying to get potential out of somebody to try to find a Puka Nacua or, whatever defensive lineman, a better example would be. They need guys that can come in and play 30 to 50% of the snaps right away. They need that under the books. And how are you going to grade that, right? Because everybody thought we needed a couple of different positions that they ended up getting. But ultimately, when you have a Deion Dawkins and a Spencer Brown, how are you going to grade an offensive tackle pick? That's ultimately what it comes down to, guys. And that's, you see the scores reflected. And obviously with 2 starting boundary corners, how are you going to grade this class when you go and draft Igbenogson, a pure man, even though he has good zone. He really does have potentially good zone instincts, but we've only really seen him in man. We've seen him be grabby, and you're just judging based on his penalties. And then you're judging the offensive tackle pick. The Bills knocked out a lot of the future picks after that, and TJ Parker really was, for the part of the board they were on, that's about the player you're getting. You're not going to get much better value picking at the bottom of the first. It's a really hard place to pick, and stats say it. It's only a 29% hit rate. So the Bills said, we need more picks here, guys. And they were able to get Kilgore. They were able to get Bell. They were able to get Elarms Orr because of the moves they made. It isn't in a vacuum. So, and still probably the Bills did like Parker. We'll see if they're right or not. But that really was a player that they were going to select, to people's hatred or love. He would have been the pick they picked if they were stuck there and couldn't make a move. And they didn't feel comfortable going all the way down to the second. And being mentioned, he had a deal to just drop right down. But he didn't know based on how the board would go. So I thought he did a really good job of making sure and not losing who their staff really liked Parker. I mean, that's what it was. So we're hoping that this class does nail. He needs a nail out class. And this does have the makings to be one of those Seattle Seahawks classes where you do get at least 3 to 4 starters out of it, and maybe some last year guys. And you saw that run on tight ends. And I've said this a couple times. I still think that the way you got out Jackson Hawes was part of the reason that 13 personnel and blocking tight ends have a ton of value in this league. The Bills were with the Rams, and they were above it. So they started that tight end jump this year. So there is some value from last year in this year's class. I mean, the Bills have 17 picks under contract from those classes. It's time to see what this young talent can do.
Absolutely.
No, I listen, I'll put my hand up and say, after the first day, Whittle, second, third round, I may have been one of those D guys, right? The first reactions, right? We trade down. We were hoping and expecting maybe certain players to get picked. We talked about the one tech that we've been yearning for, right, for a long time. But I think the grades also reflect the fact that we have a new regime now. Yes, Brandon Beane is still the GM, but McDermott is not here anymore. So we've been accustomed to the Bills picking a very specific way for quite a while. This year, they went a little bit different, I would say, in a lot of respects, that maybe some players that I wasn't, for example, me personally, were targeting, and maybe a lot of experts, quote, out there, weren't targeting either. Maybe thus that creates the grade. We just took Maxwell Hairston last year. Then we take the corner in the second round. So on the surface, that looks weird. But like what Kevin said and what Bean said, the importance of that third corner was really a big thing. So I think that was a big part of why I think the grades were kind of like that way. And we didn't have a first round pick. This wasn't as, quote, a sexy draft as usual, right? And remember how the Bills were talking about maybe they were in the arena to try to get some of these big players in the offseason, Trey Hendrickson and that pick 26 this year, I don't think it's had as much value as maybe from a couple of years ago. So, and we kind of saw that where the Giants got pick 10 for Dexter Lawrence. So maybe that leads to the value of the draft this year. And you mentioned the tight ends, Kev, and I agree with you. And Ahmed came up here and listen, we signed another one today, Zane Salstra. You know, we're always looking to continuously improve the tight ends. And I saw an article today about how the Rams, you know, they've kind of revolutionized that too. They have the multiple tight ends. I mean, it's back now in the NFL, and I think the Bills were ahead of that curve last year. So, and after our pod last week, and when you all broke it down so great, that was one of the best pods we've done, by the way. It really, the light bulb went off for me. He said, hey, maybe we are taking players. Maybe TJ Parker wasn't a guy I didn't have on my radar. It wasn't the player I was criticizing. It was, we had an expectation and we didn't do it, right? But then when you go watch the film and you watch what TJ Parker could bring, and we do need that on our defense, right? And especially since we have a new coordinator in Jim Leonard, we're going to see a lot of different elements that we've been accustomed to under Sean McDermott.
Yeah, real quick, some breaking news. I believe, I'm trying to confirm it right now. I believe Brendan Rice was signed by the Green Bay Packers. I think that was done today. I'm trying to make sure. And if that's the case, it makes a lot of sense because I mean, you saw they took Brendan Thompson, so. Yep, the Packers have claimed wide receiver Brendan Rice off waivers. All right, yeah. So he got cut, and they picked him up. Smart move, adding another weapon, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, actually, TJ Parker is Albert. I see this tweet. TJ Parker really isn't like Greg Rousseau. Like he's good against. TJ Parker is good against the run. He's a much better pass rusher than Greg Rousseau is from like a technique standpoint. Like there are like
competition.
Yeah. Like he actually has a pass rush bag. My issue with Rousseau all the time is like I just think Rousseau's a bully. He's big. He's got long arms. And he's got a motor, and he's just big. He's just bigger. I think he does a good job of. I think Rousseau does a good job of keeping of using that long arm to keep tackles at bay, and then adjusting to whatever they do. But TJ Parker doesn't do that. Like TJ Parker's got a spin move. He's got inside and outside counters. He can rush from power. He can rush with technique. He can bend. He's got more bend than Rousseau does. He's not as good as a runner. You know who he is? Greg's huge sack season came as defensive tackle, and he came when he was playing more inside, and a lot of those were cleanup sacks. You gotta go back and watch those sacks. A lot of those sacks that Rousseau got were cleanup sacks, and they came from when he was playing inside. Not a ton when he was playing at defensive end, but it's fine. Mm-hmm. Like TJ Parker really reminds me a lot of Bradley Chubb. I don't know if he's as juiced up as Bradley Chubb was when he came out. Definitely isn't. But they're very similar players from a height, weight, measurement standpoint. Athletically, I think TJ Parker's not as explosive of an athlete as Bradley Chubb, but they play a very, very similar style of edge. So I'm looking forward to that because I think when Bradley Chubb first came into the league, I mean, this guy was, flirting with double-digit sacks every single year until the injuries kind of tore him up. If we can get that out of TJ Parker, I'll take it because I think we're going to get a ton of interior pressure with Ed and Dion. One of those guys is going to get a one-on-one, and I feel great about that. So I don't want to get stuck on the draft again, but I mean, like, I just think that Bean did a really good job of ensuring that we don't run into the problems that we've run into over the last few years with.
That's what he did, Whittle. That's all he did. The best way to sum up the draft is like, yes, I don't think we can always say that him and McDermott had some like huge problem until maybe this year. Like they agreed philosophically on stuff. That was why it worked for a little while. And so Bean and his scouts specifically probably did agree that one tech is not an overly important position based on snap counts, based on asset cost, based on needing a top end second round pick or first round pick to do it. they probably agreed on that, right? And they agreed on the style of DN. Like it's not all disagreements within the building, especially for so long that they were together. But they just probably disagreed offensively more than anything, maybe at the receiver position, maybe at a couple of other positions. But they clearly disagreed, maybe a linebacker. We don't really know, a DB. But ultimately, like, they probably still had some philosophy similarities. And McDermott's right sometimes, too. It's not like McDermott was always wrong. He won a lot of games. So he was right about some things. And if the Bills got a Bradley Chubb who went top 5 in front of Josh Allen in the second round at a younger, cheaper, cost-controlled, that's a good pick. So ultimately, you get a guy that can get 6 to 8 sacks. I mean, in the second round, I mean, that's a guy that can play 3 downs too. So that's what you're hoping for out of this class. I think the best way to sum it up is, how do you rank actually having solid depth for once? Besides the inside linebacker position, Bills have a really solid depth. And the last 2 years, one of the biggest problem was injury. You're done. And they got injuries and they were done at some position groups. You're playing Dane Jackson and, dude off the street at safety. In huge moments. These aren't rinky-dink moments. These are humongous moments in a football season. And you got victimized both times that they played one snap. I mean, the Bills can't have that. And therefore, they loaded at safety. They loaded at corner. I mean, they trying to load at edge. Ultimately, they got a little work to do an inside linebacker, but Brandon Beane will tell you still got 3 months to have someone on the roster for September 1st.
Yep. And Kevin, I gotta ask you, because I'm gonna ask you about a tweet, and this is the last thing we're going to talk about with the draft. You caught a little heat. I'm not even gonna say a little heat. Bills fans and Bills content creators tried to put you on the grill this week for a tweet about Drew Bowery and the potential of moving on from Deion Dawkins. Now, I understood what you meant. I understood that, hey, we got to cut costs. We're going to have to cut costs somewhere. So if this young man that we just drafted can come in and play at a replacement level, a competent level of left tackle, that is an area where you get the most bang for your buck by moving on. Number one, Deion Dawkins is going to give you a ton of value, and you save a ton of money by walking away from a player like that who is probably on the verge of a decline. And if you can get a second or a third round for a top 10 left tackle in the NFL, top 5, top 10 left tackle in the NFL, if you can get a second round pick for a guy like that, you take it. And especially if you have a competent replacement. That was my understanding when I read your tweet. I don't think the rest of Bills Mafia felt like that. So, Kev, you got the floor, man. If you want to clarify, or you just want to tell people that
the Dawkins one is like, I'm on the side of like always propping up their offensive line, and like the Bills are going to need to make tough decisions, especially after keeping Connor McGovern, a younger center. Like, they're drafting tackles left and right. McDermott's gone. Like, Beane technically didn't draft Dawkins. It's not technically a Leonard Brady guy in either of their coordinators. It's not a Carmichael guy. Like, there is enough people in the room that would be like, what kind of asset can we get for this guy? Like, a lot of Bills fans thought I was like, just caught him right now for no reason. Like, that's not what I said. At no point was like, you should cut Deion Dawkins to save money that you can't use this year anyways. Like, it's like the Bills are $40 million under. They can be in a good spot with their 2027 assets. You have an extra 5th from a comp coming. You have a 7th from a trade you made in the draft. I mean, you could accumulate. Laremy Tunsil's traded for multiple picks, it feels like frequently, and he's about the same age. I think he's 31. So it doesn't mean like he's going to have a future career, but the Bills need to be careful. And they also didn't restructure him. So they're telling you without telling you, because Beane uses that asset. It's not like the Bills don't restructure and they don't use that tool. He's telling you he needs to play for his job. I'm sorry. Like, he is telling you that. Now he goes and he plays really well this year and he goes and does a deal. No problem. Like, the Bills decided, good way to spend my assets. But it's not like it's not a shoo-in that he's on the roster much further. And everyone's pointing like, look at KC when they moved on from Orlando Brown or whatever. That's like the example I've always gotten thrown at me. Is like, look at the Chiefs and look at what happened when they tried to. The Chiefs are also out in front of trading Tyreek Hill. They're out in front of trading cornerbacks that they have. Like they are like, look at Snead. Look at literally all that they've been right on by trading premier player McDuffie. We don't know if they're right yet on that. But look at all of the things that they've been out in front of that they were right on. We don't know how the left tackle would have gone. They picked Simmons, who fell to them, but then he had the off the field things. I haven't researched what may have happened, but he was looking like he was going to be a solid left tackle for him. That wasn't just a pie in the sky. They had a plan. So to me, it's like, I didn't say to cut him. I didn't say to do that today. If you don't think that that's running through Brandon Beane's mind of how to save $30 million, basically get you back even next year, you're crazy, and recoup an asset and further get 10 more guys next year at the same way they did this year, maybe even some topper end talent in the 2027 draft. That you're crazy. Like, you got to think about you being disingenuous if you really don't want to live in a world where like you think that all of these players are never going to leave the Bills. Like, it's not going to happen. So they have Spencer Brown to worry about. They may like Torrance more than I do, we don't know. Like, we don't know. They go and sign Torrance, and then he's even more expendable. So ultimately, we have to see how this all plays out. And by not restructuring him already and still having $10 million, he's extremely vulnerable on the Bills roster. And maybe Bowery it wasn't supposed to just be a Jude Bowery thing. Maybe he comes in and sucks and he doesn't have it. I don't know. But ultimately, the Bills don't just take guys in the early fourth round for no reason. They just don't do it. That's the one thing Brandon Beane doesn't do. He plays Gabe Davis. He plays Deion Walker. These are guys that they've expressed extreme interest in. And let's be honest, Spencer Brown was taken only like 7 picks earlier than Bowery. Just because I know the 3rd, 4th thing gets people, but it's pick wise, it's the same region. It's literally 7 to 12 picks different. Like, in the Bills win.
It was almost like it was almost like a late 3rd round pick, Kev, right? I mean, you can make the argument. It was very similar. You can make an argument it's
the late or early 4th is better because your entire scouting staff can revisit film and they can do some last minute things to say, all right, this is the guy we all want. So when you're at the end of the 3rd, though, you don't have that. You don't have the time. You're kind of scrambling. You're trying to get your pick in. You're trying to make a trade. You don't have that time to revisit as a unit. But being asked everybody in any position, and a couple Kilgores came up, a couple Skylar Bells, but ultimately it was Jude Bowery of like, we can't lose this guy. Like, and I trust what Carmichael, he's very good on the O-line too. I trust what Pat Meyer has had some pretty good O-lines in Pitt. What Austin Gunn was able to do underneath Aaron Cromer, and Aaron Cromer probably gave his final blessing on this staff before he left, or this class before he left. They know how to do offensive line. It's a little different than the Chiefs, where they may be better at other positions. The Bills know how to evaluate this position group. They've gotten it right many times. They've nailed it in a couple of different areas. You cannot just discard a guy that was taken that early in the 4th round as just, he was a 4th rounder, he's not going to play. This is a position you have to really think about. And that maybe he wins a left guard job. But ultimately, there's something there. And I don't know it's this year, but ultimately they may want Dawkins for 1 more year. But that does come at a cost of truly, like, if you traded him June 1st and you got a 2nd round pick for him, that truly comes at the cost of roughly $30 million, which is around what he's worth. But at some point, you have to make those decisions. And everybody's like, well, why would you have a blindside rookie defending him? And, good point. Like, ultimately, it's not a crazy scenario that you don't want to take weapons away. And I've been a proponent of these guys are weapons for Josh Allen. So I think those are the things you have to think about.
First of all, I want to hear these guys that threw you under the bus. I didn't hear all this that happened, Kev. A couple things. Listen,
I didn't even think anyone would care beyond
Buffalo Bills of all time.
Yeah. I didn't think anyone would care that much.
It's an emotional thing.
Money.
No, I read your tweet originally and I thought I said, it made me pause. I said, maybe there's something to that. Again, this is the NFL. It's a business. Yeah. And the point you brought up about the non-restructure is very valid. I think they're leaving the door open. And that's all you were suggesting. It was a very well thought out position that I would say, sure, I think it happened. Deion Dawkins was a 2nd round pick. He wasn't a top 5 pick in the draft. I mean, he's been one of the great Bills. But we all know these days, these things can happen, unfortunately. And some of these content creators, maybe they're afraid of how dare you say anything about Deion Dawkins? We're not saying Deion Dawkins is a bad player. You
No.
gotta value. You gotta measure the production against the salary, and it's a sliding
Dean
scale.
said
You know
that in
better than I
his
do.
interview. He said that about
Yeah.
Brady. This staff is going
Mhm.
to have to evaluate, including like Taron Johnson. Like you're going to have to evaluate these salaries against their production, against the potential asset return, and against the potential draft class that's coming in. Like they're good. That's their job. Like their job is to continue to find low cost assets. So that's where we're at, guys, with the Deion Dawkins discussion. And the Bills O-line is so talented to where I think they could really overcome it, but maybe next year's the year. Maybe it's not this year, and that's fine. But maybe next year's the year where you get one more out of Dawkins. If he plays really well, you don't let him go. But you do have to value. You got to get out in front of these things, and that's why the Chiefs stayed good and won so many championships. Is because they continue to resurface and restock the cupboard right ahead of the curve many times with super talented players. It's not like they traded a bum Tyreek Hill. You're talking about a premier receiver one at the time.
Yeah. So I'm seeing this thing like Raiders confirmed. I don't know. Like,
I'm seeing a lot of tweets about it. I was just going to mention, I'm seeing October 18th, 425 Sunday. Music to my ears, being I'm thinking about going to that game on a Sunday. So I'm hoping that that's the case, but that's what we're seeing. Sunday, October 18th, 2026 at 425.
Cool.
Seeing several tweets. But again, doesn't mean it's a guarantee. Well, if you're going, man,
I'm just trying to go to Vegas. That's it.
I'll see you there.
Like, yeah, it's great. It's great. There's going to be a football game there too. But it's the Raiders in year one with a rookie quarterback. We should smoke them. Me and the lady are going out to Vegas. We're gonna.
Will Mendoza be playing by then, or is it still Kirk Cousins or so Kirk O'Chains?
Either way, you know what? Listen, if it's Kirk Cousins, I'm looking at that game a little differently. Because Kirk Cousins is a quality NFL starter. Like I don't care that he didn't play well over the last few, whatever in Atlanta. Like it's Atlanta. I don't expect much out of that franchise. Even though they did beat us, but I mean, like Jesus, man, like quarterback play has been terrible for them after Matt Ryan. So whatever. I think Kurt in a new situation, probably an offense that makes more sense to him. Maybe he has a little more say-so in what they're doing because it's such a young roster. And I'm sure Brady respects him a little bit as a quarterback. He's been one of the better quarterbacks throughout his tenure. So
agreed.
Yeah,
I think he's a quality player for Mendoza, though. Like he's a quality guy to have there. But does that change? I don't think Mendoza gets into week 8, but I could be wrong. Maybe they just play in week 2. I don't know, but I don't.
I mean, how bad do they want? I mean, like So the weird thing is like next year's draft is so top heavy with I think it's going to be top heavy with quarterbacks, and a couple of receivers. Like it's a stacked receiver group as well. So even if you want. Like if you feel like you have your quarterback, you just want to get a receiver, dude. Like you don't have to tank. You can just play and be competitive and end up in a team somewhere and end up getting a number one talent at wide receiver, probably in the teens, next season because that's just the way the board's going to shake out. But let's get into these rankings and
let's see him whittle.
I'm just going with my top 10, and I was gonna write down some notes, but I didn't have time to do all of that, man. I was trying to make it look pretty. I'm gonna have one of the kids step in and jazz this thing up a little bit for next week when I
Whittle, I got a question. Is this AFC rankings only or NFL?
No, it's NFL.
Okay. I'll work on my top 10 privately here and rapid fire after you guys are done. So go right ahead.
All right, let's go. We're gonna where is it? All right, I'm not using that. Use screen. Okay, here we go. Coast to Coast power rankings, preseason power rankings. Now,
Ooh,
I
like the
so
graphic.
let's just go through it. All right. Number one, I got the Los Angeles Rams. I think this is the best roster in football. I think what they have on the defensive line with Fisk and Young and Turner, all of those guys up front, like that verse, like that group up front is so good. I like the safeties with Curl and Kitchens. Like I think that's a good safety combination. Not the most athletic, but I think they're smart and they know how, and they make plays. Now you add I thought Forbes had a solid year for them at corner. Now you're adding Trent McDuffie and Watson. Watson's a very capable starting boundary corner, and you can move McDuffie anywhere. You can move him. Have confirmed him. Okay, you can move him inside. You can play him outside. You can let him roam a little bit. Like I think that defensively, they're very very solid. Linebackers probably still the weak point, but when you can get to the quarterback and cover the way that they're going to be able to this year, I think you can kind of hide the deficiencies that you may encounter at linebacker, or the linebackers are just going to look better because of the surrounding cast around them. And then offensively, the Rams their defense is gonna be good because that offense is gonna put so much pressure on you. They have a multiple 1,000-yard running back in multiple years, 1,000-yard running back in Kyron Williams, who they just signed. I think they love their second running back, young man out of Michigan, who's a nice little change of pace from Kyron Williams. He's also a very good receiver. Puka Nacua, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And I like their slot. Like I really do like their slot option. Jordan Whittington, like I know he's not really somebody that teams really pay attention to, but he when he gets his opportunities, he makes the most out of them. He's a very good run blocker. He does the dirty stuff. I like him a lot. And I just think with Stafford, the offensive line played well. Like I think this is the best team in football. If they don't get to the Super Bowl, I believe that this is a disappointment. And I mean, and then with coaching, like McVay's, top 3 coach in the NFL. Like that's not even debatable. He's one of the best. I just think that they have so many positive strengths going in their favor compared to the rest of the league. I have to have them at number 1. Any pushback? Anybody? Any pushback?
Nope.
Nope.
I think you broke
Nope.
it. They love their Chiefs corners.
Yeah, right. I know this is their second go around with that, right? Then they what's they grab?
They have Jalen Watson.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. The Chiefs, Jesus. All right. Number 2, the Denver Broncos.
Wow.
Yeah, I struggled with them and a couple other teams that I thought were right here with them. But I'm going with the Broncos for this reason and this reason alone. I love Cortland Sutton. I think he's a dog. I think Pat Bryant's a really good player as well. I love what they were able to do with adding Troy Franklin. They can throw Troy Franklin on the boundary, can throw him in the slot, and he definitely affects the game with his speed. You know what they did? They went out and got faster. Like they already had Marvin Mims, and then they brought in Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's a 1,000-yard receiver without Tyreek Hill there, and Tua at the quarterback, and a terrible offensive line, and no semblance of a running game. He put up 1,000 yards there. Defensive head coach, like I think that this really gives them a 5-man rotation at wide receiver that might be better than any other wide receiver group in the NFL. Yes, Cortland Sutton's probably on the at the point where he's going to be decreasing in production and things like that. But like, there's so much speed around him. There's so many guys that can beat you in one play. And Bo Nix is like, the check down or the touchdown. Like if check down or touchdown was a player, it's Bo Nix. He's going to throw that check down, or he's trying to kill you for 45 yards down the field to a guy running down, running the fly route. So the Jalen Waddle just fits that so well. And now with that offensive line that they have in front of Bo Nix, those receivers, that's going to create so much running room for whoever they throw out there running back. I know RJ Harvey had a solid. See, he ended the year pretty well for them. They're going to be able to run the football because of the space that those receivers are able to create. They just need Bo Nix to really attack the middle of the field a little bit more. If he can do that, kind of clean up some of his intermediate accuracy, like that's a team that can go. I think they can go back to the Super Bowl. Defensively, like what can we say? Patrick Surtain, he's a top 3 corner in the NFL. I don't think he's the best corner. I think he's a top 3 corner. I really like their linebackers. I really like their defensive line. Like Zach Allen's an All-Pro. Nick Bonito, one of the best. Like that, one of the best off the edge. They're really good. Jaquan McMillan in the slot, really good. Like their safeties. I had low expectations out of the safety group last year, and they well exceeded what I expected. Even with Brandon Jones going down, like he's going to be healthy this year, so they're going to get him back. Like this defense is stacked from top to bottom, from the defensive line all the way to the secondary. They have really, really good players. Riley Moss is kind of a target, but they do a good job of mitigating that. And I got them as the best team, the best roster in the AFC. I think they're number 2 in the league. Any pushback?
Yes, a little bit, but not bad. But it's close. I'm not going to say you know what I mean? I'll have slight pushback. Kev?
I mean, you have a team that finished top 4. Like, I mean, it is whether you think they should have or not. It is. I mean, they did, and we're probably at full strength and not this pouring snow. We're probably top 2. So Whittle's not far off, and then you go and add Jalen Waddle. I mean, modest draft, but you trade some of your draft capital. Wasn't my favorite draft that a team had, but they didn't necessarily need to have one. But ultimately, they have Jahdae Barron, even if Riley Moss has an issue or McMillan goes down. Some people say he's a slot. Some people say the problem with Barron is people don't know where to play him. But we'll see the transition at coordinators in terms of offensive coordinator change. You go to Davis Webb. You lose a key cog in your defense. I know you still have a solid defensive coordinator, but you lose your pass game coordinator. And the biggest thing is I've seen the injury to Bo Nix. It does not look good still. So will he be the same player? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Absolutely. And that's already debated how high of a quarterback he is. But ultimately things could unravel there quickly. But on a paper today, their defensive roster, I could see you putting him in the top 3. I have him more in like the 6-7 range. But 2 or 3 is not. It's not outlandish. Like I don't have a great argument against why that sucks. I mean, analytically they're 8th, but I mean they still have very solid. Let's see where their biggest weakness is. I mean, analytics don't love their running back room, don't like their tight end room, linebacking room you've already mentioned. But it's a good roster. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at an AFC Championship appearance, or I wouldn't be shocked at a wild card exit.
Yeah. I agree. I agree completely. Kevin? Not Kevin. Beyond, what you got?
Oh, for my first 2?
No. I was just saying, like,
for Broncos,
any pushback? Yeah.
No, very, very small pushback. I mean, I have the Broncos probably severely, in my top 4. So, but I have small alterations. But yeah, I can't argue that roster is one of the best in the league. And I agree with Kevin. If it wasn't for the snowstorm, and if Bo Nix didn't get hurt, they're probably playing Seattle in the Super Bowl, and who knows what happens at that point. So
they probably play better than New England did. So
no doubt about it.
Bo does not turn the ball over that much. Like, he really takes care of the football. He'll tuck it and run before he throws a bad pass. Like that, I do appreciate that about him. And I'm operating under the assumption that he's good. Going to be fine, right? All right, so fourth, I got Philly. I wanted to have Philly a little bit. Like Philly was, I wanted to put Philly at 3. I just can't because of the quarterback and the coordinator change. Like you're changing your offensive coordinator. I would have had Philly a little bit lower. I do think that the offensive line is a little bit of a question mark because it was last year. Saquon Barkley, slight fall off last year. I still think he's a really good back, but and then there's the looming AJ Brown trade, which I do think is going to go through, and I am operating. I still have Philly as the number 4 team, even this, and this is me assuming that they do not have AJ Brown. I think that that Devonta Smith is going to pick up and he's going to pick up that share of the weight that AJ Brown's going to leave, and I think he's going to be able to handle it perfectly. I believe that there's a chemistry between Jalen Hurts and Devonta Smith that never developed with AJ Brown. I do think that Devonta Smith puts himself in top 10, top 7 conversations after this year because Jalen Hurts is going to lean on him. I loved it. I love their tight end. Mekhi Lemon in slot, I think, is a really good pickup. They always have a top O line, but again, like I do have some question marks about the hole that was left by Mekhi Becton leaving, and then the center. God, I keep forgetting this guy's name. What was his name?
Cam Jurgens.
Yeah, Cam Jurgens. Cam Jurgens is cool, and I mean, I think he was like an All-Pro or like All-Star, whatever he was. But like I question how good he actually is. Like I think he's a benefit of a really good line and a really good offensive line coach. They paid that offensive line coach a lot of money to stick around. I do expect them to figure it out. New coordinator, so that you got to deal with that. But defensively, bringing in Jonathan Gennard, their linebackers are possibly the best group of linebackers in the NFL. The secondary, you add, I love Quinyon Mitchell. I think Quinyon Mitchell might be the best corner in the NFL. Like I
know you like Greg Woolen too.
Yeah, that's why they're here. That's why they're here. You added Tariq Woolen. They had an issue at CB2. I think you bring in a guy like Tariq Woolen. That defense will protect Woolen because Woolen will take chances. He will be out of position at times. But that defense with Grenard up front, Carter's playing for a paycheck, Jordan Davis just got paid. Like, they're going to be getting after the quarterback. And when they do, quarterbacks are going to rush throws. And one thing Tariq Woolen can do is break on the football and turn you over. So, because the wide receiver background and the size and speed and athletic profile, I really, 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 really like where this Philly defense is headed. Makuba at safety, great pick. Cole Wisniewski. They brought in the Texas Tech safety, 6'4", 200 and some change, can really play well in the box. That gives you flexibility to move Cooper DeJean around. You can play him in the slot, which is where he's great at. Or, if you want to take Cole off the field, or if you want to put Cole Wisniewski as a dime backer and put him on, put him on the line of scrimmage, you can drop Cooper into the safety spot. He can play in space. He can play, you match up with tight ends. Like, I just think that they have a lot of pieces for Vic Fangio to play around with and really cause some issues. So I got Philly at 4.
You
guys good with that?
I'll give you a quick review. I got Philly at 3, and I'll tell you one thing about the AJ Brown trade. Could it be similar to when the Bills moved off Diggs? Not that AJ Brown isn't a great player. We know AJ Brown's talent, but maybe with the friction, maybe things they had this past season, maybe there was more to it than we all realized. Maybe the Eagles kind of take a page out of the 24 Bills here, and they go, okay, let's bring in AJ Brown. Let's see what he can do. And maybe he can everybody eats mentality. So I could see that. And the offensive coordinator change, Whittle, I'll say, I mean, the previous guy, Patullo, a lot of people talked about him like we talked about Dorsey. No route concepts, didn't really mesh with Jalen Hurts. I know Hurts has had his issues, but I think with the new offensive coordinator, Manning, we'll see. He's pretty young. He's 33, but they're already raving about him in terms of Hurts. So I do expect, and I agree with you about the defense. I mean, do you see a hole on that defense anywhere? I really don't. Not really. I don't see it. Nothing that really glares at you, and that's really hard to pull off. So I think maybe that can have a similar effect to the 24 Bills. I could see the Eagles having a similar type year that Buffalo.
My only issue with that is Jalen Hurts doesn't throw the ball over the middle of the field, and that is something that he has to improve. I think he was like bottom 3 or bottom 4 in the league last year. If he doesn't improve that, you're wasting a lineman. You're not getting enough out of your tight ends. You're not involving Saquon Barkley enough because you're not throwing it to the middle of the field. So if he's going to do that, I think the offense can be a lot better. I don't think it's an everybody eats situation. I just think that he's going to put more on Devonta Smith's plate, and I think that Devonta Smith is ready and able to take on more and produce.
But maybe that was that elephant in the room, that maybe affected them a little bit last year. We'll see. But it's always hard to repeat, as we know. I mean, they were the champs last year, so maybe going into this season they have a little more chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, and it's not like they didn't add anybody. They added Wicks. I mean, they brought guys in. I think they also brought in Hollywood Brown. So I mean, like they've got a pretty good wide receiver group that'll be able that should be productive, especially productive on the deep ball. And Jalen Hurts is not shy when it comes to throwing a deep ball. He will do that. Me, I'm gonna be honest, man. I call Bo Nix the white Jalen Hurts. Like, I think that they're very similar players. Neither.
I mean, Bo Nix could have a trajectory like that. That's possible.
But neither quarterback turns the ball over a lot. They don't take a ton of chances. They will run before they put the ball in harm's way, and neither one really wants to throw the ball into immediately. So they check down or we're chucking it down the field. So that's where I got them. Let's go with number 5, Seattle. Seattle is number 5, not because of what they lost on the roster, but what they lost in the coaching staff. I do think that those two things coincide. Yes, losing certain guys on the defensive side of the football, as well as Kenneth Walker. I know they replaced him with another running back, but still, you did lose a major piece of your offense. Charbonnet's been out, and this is not the first time for him to miss time. So I don't know if that develops and turns into a thing now, but like you're kind of putting a lot of responsibility on Jadeveon Prince. That's I don't know how that works. Like I'm as a NFL fan, I'm looking at Seattle and I'm saying to myself, still a really good roster, still a really good team. I'm worried about the offense. Sam Darnold has played well in spots. When he does it, you need to be able to run the football. If Charbonnet can't go, you're depending on a rookie. I don't know how well that works. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I mean, you're still bringing back JSN, who had his breakout year last year. I'm sure Cooper Kupp's going to play. They kept Jake Bobo. Like, they have guys to throw the football to. I like the tight ends as well. Jay Barner, like I like those guys. They do have a really good roster, but you lose your OC, you lose your DC, you lose one of your edges, you lose a couple guys in the secondary. Now, granted, I mean they have replacements and they drafted guys, but those are the things that to me separate Seattle from a Denver or Seattle from a Los Angeles. Like that, it's just things like that. So overall, like I still think Seattle's a very, very strong team. Are they going to win a division? It's possible. I could see it. I think the Rams are going. I think the Rams are the class of the NFC, but Seattle could very well sneak up and win that division again. They won the Super Bowl. Could they miss the playoffs? They could. I could see that too. I I could see them in the wild card spot. I could see them finishing second. I could see them finishing third in the division behind a healthy San Fran. Like all of these possibilities are there. And I mean, it is what it is. It's just part of being in probably the most competitive division in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have four regression candidates, and this is the big one that you can point to analytically. And when you get to with what football analytics tells you, when the 4 units regress, that's when you're in trouble. And technically, Seattle has 4 regression units. I got them at running back, tight end, edge, and linebacker are 4 regression candidates. And 4 is a lot to overcome. 3 teams do. 4 is maybe once you need a lot of things to go right, no injuries. You need your new coordinators to play well, and that's never usually happened historically. Right. There's a lot, and then their division. If they were in an easy one, I'd say, okay, yep, I feel better. But it's a wild card team. I mean, it is what it is. But they won the Super Bowl. They got to get their prop. But there are four units that are going to hold them down a little bit here, guys. So, but definitely still a top 8 team. And luckily it's one the Bills don't play of everyone we've mentioned so far. I think they play, if you take the Bills out of it, they play 11 of the top 15 Ross teams.
Ooh. Yikes.
They do. Yep.
I got a lot of faith in Mike McDonald. I think he's a really, really, really good coach. So yes, they did lose some guys on defense. I just don't think that it's going to be enough. Like I just don't think. I think that he's a good enough coach to overcome what they lost. Because I mean, they still were able to replace some of those guys with draft picks, as well as guys they already had on the roster that they wanted to give more snaps to anyway. So I'm giving the defense a pass a little bit, and I'm looking at the offense, and that's really where my eyes kind of pop up and say, all right, like that's where I can see the biggest regression happening.
And unfortunately, they're probably going to be the 5 seed, but they're probably still going to be favored, and they're going to beat the NFC South team. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Number 6?
Number 6.
All right, we're 6. Houston. I'm sure a lot of people are going to look at this and say, why is Houston that high? A couple of reasons. Tank Dell is supposed to be back. I think C.J. Stroud's a different quarterback when Tank Dell is on the field. Nico Collins, really good wide receiver, can't stay healthy. I saw a lot out of it. I saw Jaden Higgins last year look like exactly who I thought he was going to be. He is a number 1 receiver in the NFL. I think that he can come in and pick up exactly what I think he can carry whatever Nico Collins leaves on the field when he goes out on injury. I think they can just turn those targets into Jaden Higgins targets, and they'll be fine. I love Xavier Hutchinson, one of their slot guys or backup receivers. I absolutely love him. I think he's a stud. I love them coming out of Iowa State. Am I right there? I think it was Iowa State.
Yeah,
Iowa State. This is a few years ago, so there's a lot of lot of prospects between when Hutch came out and now. But yeah, I liked him a lot coming out. I thought he was a guy that Buffalo could go and get. But of course they didn't. They just don't have any holes on defense. I think D'Amico Ryan is I don't want to say I don't think excellent is as descriptive of a word as possible. He might be the best defensive coach in the NFL. And I'm giving him that over a Brian Flores, over a Vic Fangio, over a Ludini. I'm doing because of what he has to work with. This guy is Picasso with every piece of paint and every canvas that you could possibly want. There are no holes on his defense. Kamari Lasher is one of the best cornerback twos in the NFL. Derek Stingley, I think, is the first or second best corner in the league. Either him or Quinyon. Like those are like my 1 and 2 guys. Jalen Petrie in the slot, not the greatest in coverage, but he will come down and destroy you. Destroy your running back. He'll destroy your wide receiver. Like he's a capable coverage guy. Like these guys are really good in zone. The linebackers, excellent in zone, excellent against the run. The defensive line, you have the best defensive end pass rushing pair in the NFL, and Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, who are both now paid handsomely well. The one area that you had concern with was defensive tackle, and they get the best nose tackle in the NFL in the draft, in my opinion, and Caden McDonald. And then on top of all of that, your safeties, the safety room is really, really good. And then they drafted Kamari Ramsey just in case, they run into issues keeping the safeties that they already have. They brought in former Philly safety Reed Blankenship as well, who's a pretty good strong safety. So I just think that defense is so good. The kicker Fairburn is solid. Like he's been really good for them in clutch moments. Yes, he has been. Yeah, last year I think he missed a few kicks, but overall in his career, like Fairburn's been really, really good. They're very well coached. That you play them in Houston, you are in for a long game because that crowd gets behind that team. Adding David Montgomery to that running back room gives you an opportunity, gives you a receiver to use out of the backfield as well as to get tough rushing yards. I think Kev had to dip out. Yeah. Okay, got to dip. No, I think so. Okay. Yep. Cool.
Okay.
All right, Kev. Peace, brother.
Thanks, Kev.
What else? Oh, and they've continued to add to their offensive line in Houston. I'm giving Houston the benefit of the doubt. I think they're one of the best teams in the league. All they got to do is figure out how to get CJ Stroud fixed. I think Tank Dell's a big part of that. Let's see what happens. That's where I got him. I got him at 6.
Yep. You don't get a lot of pushback from me on that, Whittle. I have him as high as number 5, so we're right around the same boat. And a lot of it's going to depend on how fast that offensive line gels, right? They bring in Wyatt Teller, our old friend here in Buffalo. They drafted Rutledge and they brought in Braden Smith. So that's going to be a big part of if they gel and how long it takes them to gel. I'd rather, having said that, maybe that's a team I wouldn't mind getting earlier this year, Whittle, maybe during the season, just for that reason. Maybe we could exploit that a little bit as they find their way with their new pieces. But yeah, Houston's going to be a team we're going to see in January, most definitely.
Yeah. Listen, Ariante Irsay is the right tackle there. I thought he had a good year last year. I talked to some Texan fans. They agree with me. He had a good year last year.
Okay.
Braden Smith is such an underrated signing. Like, nobody really knows who this guy is because he spent the last, 4 or 5 years in Indy. And Indy just quietly always had a really good offensive line. That's because this young man that they brought in out of the University of, I want to make sure I'm getting it correct. I think it was University of Minnesota, correct?
I believe so.
Braden Smith. It's either Minnesota or Wisconsin. What are the two? I know it's a Big Ten school.
Oh, wait, Braden Smith? Is he always Auburn guy? Auburn. I want to say Auburn.
I think
Braden
I might
Smith?
be thinking about the other guy. Where did Raymond go? Raymond might be the one I'm thinking about.
Maybe it's Raymond. Let's see. I have to find him here. Maybe it could be that. Yeah. Oh, wait,
sorry, guys. I'm just testing my.
I love it. This is a tradition here on our podcast. Yeah. So we do it quite often.
Where did this guy go? I'll find it.
So Ursary, he went to Minnesota.
No, I'm not talking about Minnesota.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking. Maybe that was.
No, I'm talking about the other tackle for the Central Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
got it.
way off. Wow.
You're in
Yeah.
the right. You're sort of there.
All right.
You're in the right regions.
Whatever. I'm allowed. It's a lot of
Yeah, we'll
profit.
let you.
All
We'll let
right.
you slide, Will.
Right after Houston, I
Mhm.
got the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, you can say whatever you want about Herbert in big games and all this other stuff. Sure, like whatever, dude. They still they have a very, very. I think their team is, believe it or not, underrated. I think they have a top 5 wide receiver group. Um, I like their tight end Orlando what's his name? Gatson
That's
or Rondé. I think it's Rondé Gatson, Syracuse kid. I like him. The offensive line should be healthy. They brought in more talent on the offensive line. I think they drafted like 4 offensive linemen this year. The running back, Omarion Hampton, had a good year last year before he got hurt. I think Herbert is a dog. They brought in Keaton Mitchell from the Ravens, who is a scat back with insane speed and stop and go ability. He can change direction on a dime. He's really, really, really tough in space. And more important, like defensively, I mean, they're good. Like you add Akeem Mesidor to a defensive line that already had Khalil Mack and Tuli Tulupito, or I don't know how to say his name. I probably screwed it up, but Tuli had double-digit sacks last year. He's a dog. At linebacker, you got Dylan Henley, man. Like he's a beast. And his dad is like a super gang member. So he's like super affiliated. You can't even talk to him crazy in the locker room. Like
don't be messing with them.
They are loaded. Yeah, they're loaded, man. Safety play really good. Obviously with Darwin James out there. They added Genesis Smith, who's a free safety guy, really, really comfortable in coverage. Does miss some tackles, but you put the ball up, man. He can go and get it. He can go up and take it away. Tariq Steele, cornerback that they depended on last year. Like I like this team, man. Like they've got a ton of talent on both sides of the football. And then you add their head coach in Harbaugh. Like Harbaugh's a tough nosed head coach. He does very well. They added David Njoku. You're right. They just brought him in as well. So that's their inline tight end. Like they're going to be able to run the football a little bit more from under center, which is what Harbaugh wants to do. They got a guy that can block in Njoku. And their offensive coordinator is Mike McDaniels. When Mike McDaniels got fired, I was kind of happy that we didn't have to see him again. And what do you know? We get to see him again, and he's got a better team to work with. So that's going to be an interesting game playing against the Chargers with Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator. But overall, man, I just think it's a really, really strong roster. They have another really good group of wide receivers. Quentin Johnston, who early on his first few years, I think he had a drop. I think it was his first 2 years, he had an issue with dropping the football. And last year or so, he's been really, really good and productive for them. Obviously, the slot receiver out of Georgia. Why can't I remember this guy's name? Jesus.
Lad McConkey,
yeah. Like, how do you forget that name, right? Lad McConkey, Trey Harris, they brought in last year from Ole Miss. I was really, really high on Trey Harris. I still think Trey Harris gets an opportunity and does something with it this year. I think they still have Keenan Allen out there as well. And then they added Brennan Thompson, who is, basically speed and cleats. And just all of those different weapons. Like I just think they're going to be a tough out for anybody if Herbert cannot turn the ball over in key spots. That's the thing. And I think Harbaugh will get them to do that. They'll get back to throwing the football down the field a little bit more, which will be fun. And I just think that I think Mike McDaniel does some really crazy things on offense that those guys out there are gonna have a ton of fun with. I know he's gonna love working with Omarion Hampton and Keaton Mitchell. Like that team offensively, I think takes a step in the right. Obviously, they're gonna take a step in the right direction. I think they're gonna be one of the best offenses in football. But that's where I got them. After that,
yeah. One last thing about the Chargers. Don't forget, they were played without their left tackle and right tackle last year. Joel Alt and Slater are both.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's a huge thing. So yeah, well, definitely, I agree with you on that.
And they also added offensive line as well. Sorry, Packers, you're not going to see your team on the list this week. I'm only going up to 10. I got the New England Patriots.
Maybe not yours, but maybe somebody else's. Little teaser. So
yeah, I got the New England Patriots here. I know that everybody has them picked for a regression. I do think they did take a step back. I just don't think it's a major step. That defense is as advertised. Like it's good. Secondary is good. Safety, Craig Woodson, son of Hall of Fame defensive back Charles
Woodson, right? Was it Charles Woodson? I believe, yeah.
Yes, Charles Woodson. I love to say Rod Woodson. Charles Woodson.
Yeah.
I like him a lot, man. Like I like him. All in all, like I just think that defense is really good. I think Vrabel's a really good coach. He just can't keep his penis to himself or his wife, and that's fine if that's your choice. But I just think that now it's going to cause a lot of problems with them.
Yep, I agree.
I expect them to get AJ Brown. I think their weakest point was wide receiver. I think that they lacked that explosion out of the wide receiver room. Don't get me wrong. You got some of that downfield production with Kayshon Boutte, but like Drake May's a young guy. He did not play well in the playoffs. You need to do what the Bills did and go get him a guy. And I think they're going to go get AJ Brown. And I think that will help settle Drake May. I think he'll have another good year. And I think they're going to be hell to deal with in the playoffs. My issue with the Patriots and why I have them this low is because, I mean, 2 years in a row, you're taking left tackle in the first as your first pick. That tells me that you don't have a left tackle. So that's a big deal, especially in this division, because of the defensive line talent that I think is there. Chop Robinson is in this division. Will McDonald's in this division. And I know these are not household names, but they don't have to be household names because those guys can bend the edge and they can get to your quarterback. If you don't have the proper protection on the edge, especially at left tackle, you are going to be in trouble. Bradley Chubb is a productive pass rusher when he's healthy. He's in Buffalo now. And TJ Parker, I'm expecting TJ Parker to be able to rush the passer at this level. Mm-hmm. If you can't protect your quarterback, you got 6 games against teams that can get after these guys. So, I that's the only reason why I have the Patriots this low. But all in all, I think they're still a really good team. I think obviously adding AJ Brown is going to help because that pushes all the other wide receivers down. But the ability to run the football was sporadic for the Patriots last year. But now you get an AJ Brown who's a physical specimen and can run block with the best of them. You also have Mac Hollins, who is one of the best wide receiver run blockers in the NFL. That is not hyperbole. Yes, he does weird stuff with his outfits and he doesn't wear shoes, but he can block in the run game. And he gets vertical as well. He'll win contested catches downfield. If you line him up in the slot, he's a matchup problem. I just think they got a lot of things that they can, a lot of little weapons that they can mess around with. The corner room's really good. Up front, you know what they got on the inside. And I'm still not in love with the edges. I'm just not. But Milton Williams and Christian Barmore in the middle, like that's going to cause some problems. I think the spine of that defense is pretty good. They got Spillane in the middle, coming back from another year. I know he was hurt last year, but Spillane is a very, very good player. Good against the run, solid in coverage. He will turn you over. He's another one of those guys that manages to find the football a good amount of time. So this is where I got the Patriots. What do you think? You good with that?
I do not have the Patriots in my top 10, Whittle.
Wow.
Right on the outside. Again, I think there is going to be a regression. I think there's still a possibility they're in the playoffs. I don't doubt it, but I do think I think New England is a very good team that it's almost like the seas parted perfectly for them to get the Super Bowl last year. They're way ahead of schedule. I love what they're doing. I agree with you with their defense as well. A.J. Brown, I do believe, will be a Patriot, but don't be surprised if a team flies in there under the radar. We'll have to see how solid Rossini's sources were for that report, or even Schefter. So we'll see how that goes. But did they confirm that's almost a done deal after June 1st, or is that still something that's speculated?
I mean, as far as right now, speculation until it's signed. I heard it was a done deal. They're just waiting for June 1st. So
yeah,
I don't know if that's the truth or not, but whatever. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I'm operating under the impression that is what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, the Buffalo Bills. Oh. Yeah, so I got Buffalo at 9, man. And I feel like this is lower than where most people have the Bills, but I just think I'm just gonna be honest, man. I mean, outside of Deion Walker, Cole Bishop, Christian Benford, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and I don't even know if we can. How much can you depend on C.J. Gardner-Johnson? I think there are question marks everywhere else. Terrell Bernard has not played to the level of football that he played in 2023. What he did in 2023, he has not done since. Not in 2024, not in 2025, and in 2025, he was injured a lot again. No Matt Milano. I like Dorian Williams as a starter. I went and watched a lot of his coverage snaps. They're good. I think some of the issues, and I was supposed to do this week. I will. I promise I will do a film breakdown on Dorian Williams next week. And I'll leak little stuff here and now. I'll leak little videos here and there, but ultimately I'll do some film stuff on Dorian Williams next week. I'm going to try to get a guest to come in who played linebacker in college at a very, very high level. So I'm going to try to get that guy, that guest to come in and kind of break this stuff down, because y'all don't want to hear this from me. Hear from a guy that did it. Put the skin sharp on, and he did exactly what we're going to be talking about. So, but yeah, I got question marks with, I think Ed's a really good player. I don't know that Ed can stay healthy. I think Rousseau's a really good player. This is a new role for him. I don't know how effective he's going to be just pinning his ears back and going after the quarterback. When he drops back in coverage, that's something new for him. Stay healthy, dog. You know what I mean? We're asking him to do a lot of different things now, and Greg's been pretty durable, but his responsibilities are changing now. Deion Walker, I expect Deion Walker to play well, but he also lost a ton of weight. So how strong is he going to be? What are we expecting from him? There's still injuries to Michael Hoyt that we got to worry about. Bradley Chubb's been a productive player, but he gets hurt. So, I mean, all these different things on the defensive side are just I don't know. There's a lot of questions. If everything goes well, the Bills are, they're probably a top 3 team. If everything goes well, they're probably a top 3 team. I just don't know. And right now, I don't have anything to go off of to say that the Bills, everything's going to go right. I got questions. I want to see the answers. And the only way we get that is by these guys playing football. Offensively, I think that's where I don't have issues. I think the offensive line is still going to be good. Yeah, I know we're replacing the left guard, David Edwards, but I think Austin Corbett can go in and play well. I think he can play fine. I think you put Alec Anderson over there. I think that improves your ability to run the football. Maybe takes away your ability to pass protect. But those are areas where I trust the Bills coaching staff to coach whoever the left guard is. I expect them to coach him up. Left tackle play last year was not good from Deion Dawkins. I expect Deion Dawkins to come back and play well. I don't know that he will. I don't know that last year's regression wasn't a one-off year. I don't know that it was a one-off year. I don't know that it was a, precursor to what is going to continue to be a decrease in performance. I don't know, but I'm waiting. I got to see. Torrance is going into the last year of his deal. I think McGovern's going to play well. I think Spencer Brown's going to play well. McGovern's going into the last. Not McGovern. Torrance is going into the last year of his deal.
Yep.
I expect Torrance to play well. I do. Sometimes guys get into their last year and they don't. Tremaine Edmonds was one of those guys. He did not have a great season in his contract year. So, but he still got paid. I don't know that Torrance is going to have a great year. I don't know. What I do know is that DJ Moore is an upgrade from whatever we had at wide receiver line, to the wide receiver room. He's a huge upgrade from Brandon Cooks. I expect Keon to play better than what he did last year. I expect him to get an opportunity to play more than he did last year. Joshua Palmer is coming back healthy. Let's hope he can stay that way. Dalton Kincaid is healthy right now, but my nickname for him is Dalton First Aid. So if he's not going to be healthy, then that's just another really talented pass catcher that Josh Allen does not have the benefit of utilizing in the offense. What am I certain of when it comes to this team offensively? 17-4. I'm very confident in those two guys. Like, both of those guys are going to play well. I expect Josh Allen to have a great season. I expect James Cook to have another really good year. I expect Khalil Shakir to play very well again. I expect Dawson Knox to be good. I don't know. I just think that the Bills are a good team, and I think that so there's certain things that I think won't change for the Bills. I think the Bills are still going to be one of the best coverage units in the NFL. I don't think that changes with new. I don't care, new coach staff, whatever. There's certain things that you're just good at. I think the Bills are really, really good in the secondary. I think they'll be fine. Josh Allen on the field for the Buffalo Bills guarantees the Buffalo Bills a top 10 offense. Josh Allen and James Cook together, that's a top 10 offense. It is what it is. Now, if DJ Moore comes in here and gives you, 85, 90 receptions, 1,200 yards, 7 or 8 touchdowns, now we're talking about, a top 5 offense. Now we're talking about, potentially top 3, top 4 offense. That's what we're looking at. If everything goes right, this is a top 3 offense.
Yep.
If everything goes right, it's a top 10 defense. It's probably the best team in the AFC. If everything goes right. So I don't know. Well, yeah, Cook did lose his offensive line coach, but the assistant offensive line coach from last year is still there. Austin Gunn has been under Aaron Cromer for years. So I don't think that they would have kept Austin Gunn if they didn't get the green light and a comfort level from from Aaron Cromer to keep him there. The players love him as well. So I don't think that the offensive line takes that much of a step back. Yeah, David Edwards is gone, and David Edwards was really a really good technical left guard. He lacked a lot of sand in his pants. So hopefully adding a guy like Alec Anderson, who I'm hoping gets to start at left guard. I mean that's a mauler. That's a guy that can get to the second level and move guys out the way. So yeah, like that's where I got the Bills. I got them at 9.
But one quick thing, I have them higher than you, but with Josh Allen, like I think Albert brought up a good point. Maybe the running game comes down, but what if Josh Allen goes from 3,600 yards, 25 touchdown passes to maybe 4,100 yards, let's say, for example, and 32 touchdown passes. So maybe it scales like this. Maybe one side comes out a little bit. Maybe the passing game cooks a little bit more. But overall, we're still a highly, highly productive unit. And hopefully that complements the defense as well. But I agree with your take on the Bills in a lot of cases, Whittle, in terms of the question marks on defense. I do think these question marks can be met. We may not get every single one answer, Whittle, but I think if we get even 80, 90%, we're a top 5 team or better in this league, and we have a real chance to go Super Bowl.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, brother. And finally, to round out the top 10, I got the San Francisco 49ers, man.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Bro, I think the 49ers, when they're healthy, they're one of the best teams in the NFL. I have questions at wide receiver. I have questions on the offensive line. Trent Williams is old, but he's still playing well. Dominic Puny's still a really good player. I don't know. I mean, they brought in Mike Evans. They brought in Christian Kirk. Like, yeah, when those guys are healthy, you still got Ricky Pearsall. You got the young man. I think it's Austin Cowan from Arizona, I believe it was Austin Cowan Jr. Something like that. Jacob Cowan Jr. Out of Arizona. Small, fast, speedy, like wide receiver 4. If they're healthy with Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle and all of those weapons, like if Mike Evans is there and Kirk's there and Pearsall's there and Purdy's there, like that's a great team. That's a great team. They could win the conference and go to the Super Bowl.
Whoa!
How healthy are they going to be?
Whittle. Wow.
That's my question.
Okay,
are they going to be healthy? I don't know. That's the issue that I have with the 49ers. Then defensively, I like what they have. I have Fred Warner's coming back from an injury. I still expect him to be good. You're adding in another linebacker, like they're bringing in a young linebacker to play next to him. They traded D Winters on draft night, so apparently they feel good about whoever they have behind them. Yeah, like okay, let's see. Like, is Bosa going to be healthy? If he is, defensive line's going to be really good with all of the guys they've added over the last 2 years. Okay, I mean, Michael Williams is kind of a Rousseau clone. He's not a guy that's going to get after the quarterback a lot, but he's big, he's long, he's going to set the edge, he's going to get cleanup sacks, things like that. But, are they going to be healthy? I like the secondary. I love the secondary. Mustafa, the young man out of Penn State they drafted and shaped like they have guys. I like the corners, Renardo Green. Like I like the guys they have. It's just about health with the 49ers. But if they're healthy, I think they're higher than 10.
Wow. Interesting.
No, yeah. If they're healthy,
on
I
that
think
line
they're
for
better
me
than
too.
Seattle.
Yeah,
If they're healthy, they're better than Seattle. They always give the Eagles belt. They always beat the Eagles too.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah. Seattle is that one team in the top 10 this year, Whittle, where going in you have them ranked high. It's almost like that college team that has a great year, right? But maybe they're missing some key pieces and still have in the top 5, but then they end up number 15. So that could very well be the case for them into this season.
Yeah, but yeah, that's it, man. That's my top 10, bro.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you my top 10 really quick, Whittle. I'll put them on the screen here. And I have a couple surprises. And I'm a little surprised you left one of these teams out. I was a little surprised. But I'll put them up here, and I'll put them up here as a comment for us. So I'm very high in Houston. I've told you that before. I think as of this moment, I think all the moves Houston made, my Rams, Houston is my pick right now. But as you could see, Buffalo at 5. I'm with you on the Chargers, very, very high in the Chargers. I agree with you. Seattle. But going down the list, I was a little surprised you didn't have Chicago in your top 10, Whittle. I really like that roster. I really like what they're doing there over in Chicago. But I feel like this 8 through 13, 14, it's very, very fluid, right? You could really make a lot of changes there. And my number 10 is one of my surprise teams. And I know we don't like them, but Cincinnati, I love the offseason they had. I love the Dexter Lawrence move. And like you and I have talked about, their defense was young last year. They got their experience. When you put a Dexter Lawrence in the middle, it could make a lot of things. Of course, this is predicated on being healthy. And of course, with our Green Bay guy there, I do still really like the Green Bay roster. I feel like they've been almost like Buffalo recently in a way where it's like, man, you just think they're going to win these games. They lose these really excruciating games in the playoffs. But it's all about health for them too. Could Buffalo be number 2? Yeah, Whittle. I think there's a chance that Buffalo can make Super Bowl, but I agree with you going into the season. I can't put Buffalo in the top 2 yet. I still think there's too many questions that we have to answer on defense. So, again, this will all change going into it. Philadelphia, we'll see. Again, we talked about how they are. The Chargers, we'll see. But that roster, when you and I just broke down that roster, Whittle, it's hard to argue. That is a loaded roster. If you put Josh Allen on that team, that team's walking to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's not even close. That team is unbelievable. So that, and with the coaching of Harbaugh, this is about the time when Harbaugh makes this run, when he gets somewhere. He gives them about a year or two, but I think they're going to be a real menace in the AFC. But that's all I had. Just wanted to put that out there. I was kind of making it on the fly. So we'll definitely revisit this before camp too, after we see some June 1st action, like Kevin was alluding to, and some other moves. And hopefully, listen, we're going to be breaking camp sooner than you think. It's only going to be a couple months. We got a couple of sports to get through, a couple drafts, and by the time we do that, July 4th, boom, we'll be starting to talk about minicamp again. So, and breaking camp. So I can't wait.
Oh yeah, me either, man. I mean, I just, I'm sorry, I got to go back to this, man. I can't. I don't know that that's the case, because like when we look at what Josh Allen's done in his career, like he had some rough seasons throwing the football for sure. What was it, 2022 and 2023?
Mm-hmm.
Those were really, really high turnover years.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I mean,
hey, listen, Patrick Mahomes had years of 14.
Yeah, 2020, Josh Allen, 4,500 yards, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. 2021, 4,400 yards, 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Like, it doesn't have to be, high turnovers. I think Josh is smarter now. I think our offensive coordinator is I think Joe Brady, the head coach, I think he's less reckless than Brian Daboll was with a young Josh Allen. So, and also like there's a Pete Carmichael effect in here as well. Pete Carmichael does a very good job of scheming guys open in high percentage, and giving the quarterback high percentage options to throw the football to. So you're gonna see some slants. You're gonna see some throws up the seam. You're gonna see some wheel routes and out routes to running backs. These are going to be plays that he's going to scheme to get big yards out of. And ultimately we also have the ability, with the quarterback, he has the ability to extend the plays and get the ball downfield. So I don't think a high passing season automatically equals turnovers. Josh Allen, I gotta trust that he's gonna do a better job of taking care of the football. And I like the weapons that we have. So,
and you know what, Whittle? The turnovers that I want to see Josh Allen avoid are like the ones before the half against Denver, when he's got the ball, when he's either trying to run or something like that. Sometimes just get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
Just get rid of the ball. Interceptions are going to happen. I'm okay with them pushing down the ball a little bit more if it means a couple more picks. But it's the fumbles and things like that to take care of the ball. I just want to see him get really laser focused on and say, hey, we're just not going to let that happen. And that
He's got
will
to be
again
okay with
offset.
giving up.
Yeah.
He's got to be okay with giving up and down. Like, you got to be okay with you got to be okay with conceding a down to the defense, and you just get them next time, bro. Yeah. He's something else, man.
Yep.
Patrick Allen.
Oh, look, a schedule leak. How about this one, Whittle? I'll put it on the screen. We don't know if it's confirmed, but if true, we don't play the Chiefs. So how could that be? Forget that.
We do play the Chiefs. We do.
Are you sure? Oh, we do play the Chiefs?
We play the AFC West.
Oh, we do play the Chiefs. Okay, my apologies. Okay, I was
thinking but that's not accurate. That's not accurate. The Chiefs Bills game belongs to CBS. They're not giving that out.
No, okay.
CBS is getting that game. That's a 4:20 game. It's not. It's not going to be Thanksgiving Day. Good try though, whoever that was. A good try. But that's not that leak is false. But you know what? Listen, I could be wrong. Tomorrow the schedule comes out, and they could very well say, here we are. The Bills and the Chiefs playing on Thanksgiving. That could be possible. I just don't see it. I think they like that 4:20 spot, and I'm expecting to stay there.
And the last comment here, Albert. Thanks for all the great commentaries always. So
why would he have no time though? Like, why would he have no time?
Yeah, we'll have some time. I think they'll be able to. Well, Palmer, we don't know how he's injured, but I'm not as worried about that. Yeah, I feel like I think we're going to be more potent on the passing game this year for sure.
Me too. And like the no connection to Palmer thing, like Palmer got to the team last year, and in week 1, he went to him in the fourth quarter in the big spot against the Ravens to get the ball, in scoring range. I mean, and Keon kind of did the rest, but like, dude, like Josh Allen is an elite quarterback. He is elite. I'm not worried about that more so than I am worried about, can he just be consistent and not have these games where he's just completely reckless with the football, and we're talking about 2 or 3 turnovers that the defense has to overcome. Those are the things that I need him to stop doing. I think we win a lot more games if he does. Like, if Josh Allen takes care of the football, I think the Bills are the 1 seed. So I do think the roster can be that good, but we got to see it play out.
Absolutely. A lot to digest. We'll have a lot of time again as we go through our off season here. The schedule's going to be out next week. We'll react to that next week here, Whittle. See, maybe we'll give everyone here some early chances to take a shot at the record. We'll see, talk about games we will go to, and then we'll start moving, into looking at the Bills roster from A to Z, right? We'll have time to really do that. And hopefully you guys, we're going to have some great guests here. Hey, Whittle, almost 800 listens tonight. So we're on a roll tonight. So great. Want to thank everybody for coming on tonight. We had a great show. Thank Kevin Massari as well. Great spot. And Whittle Top 10 was awesome. Got the juices going for the season. So much appreciated. Great. Love the graphics as well. So, and that's really all I had tonight.
All right.
On this Wednesday night.
Go through 11 through 21 next week.
Sounds great. Okay. All right. I'll try to bring that to the table as well. So I'll have a little something for that. And before we go Sabres, go Knicks, and go Bills.
Yeah, go home.
I had to whisper, go home Knicks. There we go.
All right. right,
Thanks,
brother.
everyone.
I'll talk to you, man.
All
All right, everybody. Thank y'all for rocking out with us again. See y'all again next week. Definitely keep an eye out. We will be putting out some little snippets of content here and there this week. Thank you guys again. We love y'all, man. Go Bills.
Go Bills.